Hey, Warriors. We are back for another interview, and this time we have Sean Barker with Eso Ex- Exotropic Hysterica. See,
Well,
did I say it?
I'm proud of you for completing the attempt.
Okay.
You did you gave me two words that are very close. Okay,
Okay.
but so it's Extropic Esoterica, and because people do get I'm a super nerd. Like I was like the valedictorian. Like I went to a good school. I did well at my good school. That kind of thing, and I'm still a super nerd, by the way. But um, I in my acid tripping days, I saw I saw I saw that where the universe had been moving in entropic motion prior to our time period, prior to our timeline, and
Uh,
I think Einstein talked about that. The physicists were all saying that the universe expands infinitely, but I perceive very differently that that's not where we are now. It's actually contracting, and so things entropy is a term from physics of going from order to chaos. So like your body, for example, when it passes away, it goes into entropy. This big cohesive thing breaks down into smaller constituent elements. So it goes from form to non-form. But we're sort of in a different wave since you are a wave of a beautiful warrior. We're in a different wave now, and we're actually in an extropy. Everything is coming into order, into the divine order, and that's part of what ascension is. And so, for a while, I even had it as my religion on Facebook: extropy. Bring this back into the order, right? Extropy, rather than entropy. So, extropic means from chaos to order, and esoterica means it implements and studies of what is hidden. The esoteric arts and whatnot. So, I am that. I embody that. I am a walking extropy machine, and I always have been. And I have grown deeper in my esoteric studies through the years as well. So my platform, I like drag names, like I like drag queens, So like my previous business was tutoring, and I called that benevolent sentience, and I
huh.
like that, or well-meaning awareness. But that's it's a drag name. It's like two names. But I love benevolent sentience because if you take the first letter and the second letter, it becomes BS. Which is the opposite of my initials. My initials are SB. So I loved it. I love stuff like that. I love puns. And if you take the first syllables of Extropic Esoterica, you get excess, right? And that's exactly what it's
Okay.
going to bring. What it's going to bring me is excess, abundance. So I'm a poet.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
I love it. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. But that's my
It's
little drag
we
name.
Yeah, that branding, and I was telling you before we came on how I came up with mine, and
Mm-hmm.
it's basically an anagram of mine, my beloveds, and our karmic. And it's like those things are brought to us because essentially the names they're gonna help other people in some way, shape, or
Mm-hmm.
form, and it's crazy how that happens. I love it.
Yes. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for giving me space to explain it as well. Not everyone does that.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so as with all the others, we're looking at three questions, but I'm gonna like give you the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the first question is what led to your spiritual ascension? What was the catalyst? And it's up to you, how much you want to go into or whatever. And the floor is yours.
Yeah, it's almost hard to remember. Like I had earlier childhood memories of stuff like being able to travel out of body and like being aware of coming back into my body as I would do that kind of thing. But all that stuff gets kind of beaten out of you. Especially when you're someone like me that was achievement oriented. And I think maybe the best way to describe it is that like I was born to be like maybe a pure empath, but I was raised in a situation where I had both of my parents were narcissistic, but one of them much more so. And so I had that type of psychological abuse, and it was very invalidating. It was very like, the way their lines were always that like, we went through so much more difficult stuff that you don't know what difficult is, like it was that kind of like a concept. So it's like silenced a lot, and still to this day I find it difficult to like be raw and truthful with my family. But it's sort of like, but everyone had they have all evolved as well. So people so people are better. But I sort of growing up in that environment, I became a narcissistic abuser myself. And so that affected a lot of people in my life, and it caught up to me, I would say, in college, or like toward the end of college, because like you're kind of approaching this period where there's no more structure, right? You're going to have to like create your own structure, because I decided not to go on to grad school or anything like that. I was kind of done with it, and I was looking to build that structure, and I always wanted to build it with people. Like I wanted to build a movement. Like I've always had this like warrior energy, activist energy, that kind of thing. And just because part of like being in that narcissistic mode is that you're not receiving what the other person is putting out. You're not like actually able to like hear people and resonate and vibrate with them. So I was making these sort of situations where I would recreate a rejection wound, because like I was basically trying to collaborate with the wrong people, shall we say. And that drove me inward, and that was a good thing for me, because I was always an introvert, but I wanted to experience popularity in college, because I never had experienced that. I felt deprived about that. In high school, I had manifested my experience. I decided freshman year I was going to be valedictorian, so I went in for the kill, and I manifested that, and it just is what it is. And so that was part of it, like that required a lack of social experiences, and I felt behind the curve in that area, and I don't like to ever feel behind the curve in any area. And so I was like, I got to learn this. I got to learn how to be social. So I learned how to be popular, but I learned that popularity is vacuous. It like literally sucks out your essence. Like you have to become a shell of a creature in order to appeal to everyone. And
Mask.
so and it got to the point where I became nothing but mask. More or less, from the outside looking in, I certainly appear to only be masked. But then there was something inside of me that said, you're living a lie. This isn't who you are. You need to come back to yourself. Like there was this tug inside of me, and I would say after graduating and having that freedom to sort of like to pick my own path, I was very fortunate that that's when the esoteric experiences started for me, and when things started like kind of coming back into that type of fold. And I would credit there's someone I would credit in particular with seeding me, and that would be Midge Potts. And Midge Potts I met through an internship that I did with Code Pink Women for Peace, because I was always an activist. My big issues have always been anti-war and anti-poverty. And so I was able to do this little internship with Code Pink Women for Peace in DC. We got to stay up on the Hill. It was really cool. A friend of mine and I did it together. I had some adventures. Maybe even some that were a little scandalous. And then I had I met Midge Potts, who is fantastic, and she is a transgender peace activist. And I, being a member of, but at the time I would have thought of myself as gay. These days I would call myself pansexual, but really I'm sort of gravitating toward my sexuality's mapping only to my twin flame, and I'm in transit there, and it's working, it's happening, so that's great. But obviously we're both members in the LGBT community, so we gravitated toward each other within the Code Pink House, and we decided to do this tour together. I was like, Ned, your story's fascinating. Let me help you get some income and like go talk to these college kids about your story and get paid for it, and I'll be your tour manager, and we'll just do it. And that's what we did, man. It was like Sean and Midge's big adventure, you know what I'm saying? And we did up and down the East Coast, and Midge was very, very, very ascendant, and a lot of her process, and Theogens have been a big part of her process as well. She was also a military vet, by the way. And so they that she was very ascendant, and I felt there were times when I could actually feel her energy kind of attuning me, like if we were staying in a hotel room at night or something like that. I would, and just the conversations would enliven my perspective and expand it. And that's really kind of how it got started. And then I decided to go live a year in my college town after graduation, to sort of, because I still had some stuff to figure out for myself. And during that year, that was really cool. And I met a guy named David, and we were both sort of getting into spiritual stuff at the same time, and meditation. And he was studying it in a much more formalized way than I was. He was actually connecting with people, and he taught me a style of a meditation called the body meditation, which is where you pay attention to the strongest sensation in your body. And that can lead to all sorts of things. It can become body talk, like, if you've got a pain, you can talk to it, ask it why it's there, and move it, that kind of thing. But the body meditation kind of can prime you for more esoteric experiences, because if you learn how to follow that trajectory, you step into this full presence of like synchronicity and that kind of thing. And I love the body meditation. I've actually incorporated it into a style that I've been developing since my early 20s called Ecstatic release technique, and that's a rapid and a very physical way to release karma. And so that process started for me without me even trying. It just sort of like took hold and started teaching me what it was, ecstatic release technique, at that age. And I also opened up to lots of different, I would say, books at the time, like the Celestine Prophecy, which is one of the classic works of ascension. I think it's from the 70s or something. And it talks about, this guy talks about his opening up into synchronicity and the importance of releasing your control dramas and releasing your desire to control your external environment. And I would include yourself, really. Like some of it is about releasing your desire to control yourself. And then the other big book that I crossed paths with at that time, at that age, was the Pleiadians, Barbara Marciniak's works from the Pleiadians. So that was helpful to me. I would say that I identify as a Christian, but I would call myself an esoteric Christian, a Gnostic Christian, and a Pentecostal Christian, because I grew up in the Pentecostal charismatic tradition, but I came back into the Christian fold through the esoteric and the Gnostic side of it. And so to me, I'm both. My church is a Pentecostal church. We don't really have a Gnostic church in Danville, Virginia. And so I go to a Pentecostal church when I get motivated on a Sunday and go to church. But my private practice of my faith looks more like Gnostic Christianity. So in 2008, I had a big experience where Christ pulled me down. Like I was like in my apartment, and I felt this tug down to the floor, and I just had to let go. And then I went down onto literally just laying on the floor. And then when I opened my eyes, I was in another realm, and I was in the realm of the golden ray with the golden sky. And Christ himself peered down to me, looked down upon me, and he looked beautiful, but kind of different than how he's depicted usually. He had this length hair, but it was curly, but it was like these wide, loose kind of curls, very, very beautiful, and had big, bright brown eyes. And he was in light body, and everyone in the light body for most of us is that really slender frame, like with that shining face kind of thing. And he looked down and he said, "How can I help you if you keep running from me?" So I decided right then that I was going to stop running, and I did, and the rest is history, really.
Go Yeshua.
Right. Absolutely.
The two books. Okay, I tried to write them down real quick. Celestine Prophecy. Is that what you said? Did I get it right?
Yeah, the Celestine Prophecy. So Celestine. like a Celestine crystal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Celestine, and well, Celestine. Some people call it Celestite as well. It's a crystal that has two different names, but it's the same crystal. But Celestine Prophecy is the name of the book.
Okay, and then the Pleiadians.
Yeah, Barbara Marciniak had 3 different books about the Pleiadians back then, and I read all 3 of them. I don't remember the titles of the books though.
Okay, no, it's fine. I'm just trying to. There were several others that had books that impacted them and everything, so I want to give those out to the audience just in case they get that tingle and need to check it out. When you were talking about the method of, speaking to your pain. They brought it straight in my third eye and told me I need to follow up with you with that. So yeah, that's what I was like, ah!
Yep. Sounds
Okay.
good to me. Sounds good to me.
Okay. As far as, okay, now that we have some background, I love it. I didn't know any of that. I love it. What's along, all of this, what has been the primary, cycle that you keep coming back to over and over again? We know that, uh, 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 it can have many aspects, and we think we heal, and then, it gets brought back around again. So what was that for you? What has been that for you?
Well, I think of it alongside two ways. I think of it on the one hand as I have a multi-life study of slavery and oppressed labor. So it's like I said, it's a multi-life thing, and what that means really, like how it impacts, how it sets in the light body, what type of karma
Mm.
it fosters, etc. And then how to get out of it, of course. And so really bad work situations in which I was exploited is a thing that keeps coming back. And I have so much to offer, but people want to define what I'm going to offer. That's narcissistic abuse, and it's sort of like and also not compensate me properly for it. Like that side of it as well. So there's been that aspect of it, and then female narcissistic abuse keeps popping up. And
And that goes back to your childhood. So yeah.
yes, yeah. And not to, I mean, there a lot of healing has taken place to where I don't want to be perceived as trash talking anyone on the internet, because I always blame both parents. Like my siblings cut one direction. They blamed one parent more than the other, but it was obvious to me that the less narcissistic parent, who was more sane as well, was allowing the more narcissistic parent, who was way, who was the least sane person still to this day in the family, and letting that person run things.
Fear.
Right. Well, yeah, and being, sort of being dominated, and he sort of had a similar thing. There was an emotional withholding and that parent's formative experience as well that made that parent want to have a partner that treated that individual the way they were treated in childhood. So it's an intergenerational pattern.
Yep. And this, people, is why we need to be healing ancestral lines.
Yes, it goes all the way back, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, what was the question again?
What you're answering it, which of the lessons has been coming up the most that you've had to peel away, Yeah, so it would be that.
To push me toward deeper layers of forgiveness, I sort of dipped out of the dating game, and I've had a conversation with my brother about this, who has the unfortunate condition of being heterosexual while also experiencing the same flavor of abuse that I did, and so what I told my brother is that it's like I had to stop dating in order to stop dating my abuser. You know what I mean? I had to take a step back from that. And I tell my clients now who are addicted to male attention or female attention, it's like, you're not. This isn't going to get better till you decide to make it better. I mean, you have to be real with yourself and say, I don't know how to choose partners. I don't know how to do that. And if I don't know how to do that in a way that doesn't blow up and become destructive, I should stop doing that. Until I learn how to do it. And so that's sort of what it was. So I recreated that. I was recreating that abuse pattern in my dating life because I stopped dating and didn't do the forgiveness work and the release work. I started to recreate the pattern in my work life. So there would always be an older female narcissistic abuser figure who would try to turn me into something that I wasn't and trying to extract the value that they wanted out of me without reciprocating. And so I finally had to, in 2017, I had to really just hunker down and say, okay, I got to go in on this, really, really do it, And since that time, it's like I'm no longer manifesting that pattern. I've had the people around me who've been able to support me. And I wouldn't say that, I've been with the same job for 5 years now. And to me, that was great progress because it would reach a point where it's like I respect myself enough to not put up with it indefinitely. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I would put up to it until I would see the pattern. And then, sometimes I left before I made a plan. And then that was the first level in which I did it the worst possible way. And then the next level was I had to leave, but I made a plan. And then the
Yeah.
next level was I had to assert myself without having to leave. And I've been at that job for 5 years now, and I love those. I love the whole job. It's like a family. Like a lot of people are in a hurry to get out of their jobs who want to do their business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling the crunch now because it feels like I have two jobs now between the business and the job. But
Yeah.
the day I leave my job is going to be a sad day because I really it's really become what I needed it to be, and it's become this vehicle of getting out of that
Yeah.
pattern.
That's awesome because we see so many, and honestly, when you're talking and going through that, I'm seeing my oldest son. You're describing his adult life, and he's
Mhm.
21. So yeah. And I'm sitting there going, oh wow, it's
Mhm.
given me a bigger picture and a different perspective with what's happening with him,
Right.
and not only with him, but I've seen it with other people, and I'm sure those in the audience have too. So
Mhm.
yeah, that gives a whole different perspective. Kind of going back and the step by step process that you've had to do. So yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, you hunkered
It's been
down
a
all right. You got it done.
yeah, I did. I stopped that pattern, and then there's still other things that I'm working on. The one thing that I realized that I need to work on now is neglect, because part of the narcissistic parenting pattern, and I've had an opportunity to work with people in my job who are probably very dispositionally similar to how my parents were at the
Hmm.
same age, and so I've been able to understand it a little bit more deeply in terms of that type of patterning is about you want to give attention when you want to give attention, and then when you're done, and you
Yeah.
withdraw it. You know, and so that's why so many of us have that runner chaser thing. It's like I've explained to someone else recently. It's like as twin flames and as ascension people, we manifest what's inside of us. And for many of us, because we have either avoidant attachments patterns due to that, however the parenting was. I mean, people were being
Mhm.
miseducated on how to parent as well. So
It,
some of it is narcissistic parenting, or egocentric parenting is the word that I used before the term narcissistic parenting became popular. So I used to call it egocentric parenting. But when sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's just people were miseducated, and they meant really well, but they were taught by Luciferians to traumatize
mhm.
us early. I mean, that was
And
it was done on purpose.
bringing it in as a societal norm, so to speak. That right there, when we're seeing the 444, that is exactly what Source is trying to get through to you. That's breaking
Mhm.
down those foundations. Our parents, our
Yes.
grandparents, and so forth were built on, and some of them just didn't
Mhm.
know no better.
Right.
There's your 444 right there, just in case y'all were wondering.
Yeah. Well, I will stand in agreement with all that. Absolutely. So yeah, I sort of like that back and forth pattern. I had another point to make there, but I've lost it, so it must not have been that important.
They'll bring it back. If it's
Yeah, sure.
important, bring it back.
Mhm.
All
Mhm.
right. The last question is, as a leader in the TF spiritual community, what advice would you give to those who are newly ascending? Because we have several waves that have started coming in over the summer, and um, they're getting the timelines, just like you said earlier, the timelines are getting smaller. It's starting to crunch together. So um, they're wanting them to have a better foundation to start out with than what those who came before them did. So what advice would you give?
Don't listen to card readings
Don't
online.
listen to what? Wait, what was that?
Don't listen to card readings online.
No, I agree. I
Sorry,
agree.
Bertina.
I
So
agree. Unless you are, unless they're putting it in front of you constantly over and over again,
yeah,
don't sit there and just read readings or watch readings over and over again. Don't
yeah.
do it.
Well, you'll get drawn to the messages that are for you. So sometimes that'll
Hmm.
come through a card reader. But if you're listening to one card reader all the time, or a handful of card readers all the time, that's evidence of obsessive thinking, right?
Hmm.
And spinning your wheels and it's really sort of like self-medicating is what it is. Like, so
Sure.
you're trying to sort of like rather than going in deep into and doing that dark shadow work and that kind of thing, you just want to hear somebody tell you it's going to be okay, like, or whatever
Yeah.
it is. It will only be okay when you make it okay, you know.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like I do think there's a withdrawing into self that is helpful at the beginning of that of the twin flame part of the process. Some people do have catalyst twins, okay, and people got to get real about that. I had a catalyst twin as well, and it was a trauma bond. It was a mirrored experience of narcissistic abusive parenting, and it was good timing for me because my twin's younger than me, so I needed to have some ascension experiences without but I was never going to look at someone underage. My twin would have been underage at that time when I was having those experiences. And my catalyst twin experience was very helpful, but so many people have catalyst twins and need to get sort of have a little bit of a detachment to the identity of who they're looking
Mm-hmm.
at, right? So
Yeah.
like so be aware of that and go deeper into that, and a narcissistic abuser that comes to you in the form of the catalyst twin isn't going to give you what you need, and it isn't going to give you closure either. So you've got to give that to yourself. So I had to go in deep
Mm-hmm.
into my soul and realize that what had happened was that I actually killed my catalyst twin in a past life with a sword. So when what I took from him came back into him, it felt like love, but it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Because it was part of him that was coming back into him.
Like
And so
an owing back.
yeah, well,
Okay.
just giving what's yours to you, and me getting what's mine back to
Yeah.
me. I mean, that's what we're doing here. Part of ascension and part of light body integration is gathering your rosebuds from everywhere that you've scattered yourselves. I mean, we've been promiscuous souls, so we've really been spreading ourselves around. I mean, literally. And so it's like it's bringing it back into use. So detach a little bit from the identity. And some of you, it's your own story, right? So for some of you, it is a catalyst twin. For some of you, it is your real twin. Okay, so don't get triggered by what I'm saying here, but it's all an inside job, right? So what you have to do to get into twin flame union is process most of your karma, like about at least 80% of your karma, and then you have to attune to the energy of union, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
attune to the energy of union through deeper layers of ecstasy, right? So that's the extropic esoterica. That's you coming back into the fold, you coming back into the divine order, bit by bit by bit by bit by bit. And when you reach the point where you've released enough of your karma, your twin's going to come to you as a reflection of what you believe your twin to be, and as a reflection of what type of love you believe that you deserve to receive. you know and so if you haven't unpacked all those unconscious beliefs that have been implanted into you of your own unworthiness, that this Luciferian narcissist controlled society has been systemically putting into you, then you're going to continue to recreate that experience through that twin flame person or that catalyst twin or whoever you happen to be looking at, and even through soulmates. So it's not that my way is the best way for everyone. It's not that everyone should just not date. I mean, you may have some soul contracts to process through, but it's kind of like I was talking about sublimation in a couple of my videos yesterday, and what it really means. And a lot of times what sublimation is on this twin flame journey is giving yourself permission not to have to live through something in order to let it go, like whatever that may be.
Mm.
So it's sort of like we don't have to continuously recreate this cycle. You can stand in your authenticity and get pure to your authenticity and release it, and then at some point the light bulb will click. For me, there was a light bulb that clicked to where my twin realized it first. It's all so it's in large part my fault. The separation, and I do believe in a symmetry. Like we both made our mistakes, and that's always going to be true. I also believe there's no such thing as I'm ready, but my twin is not. Like I think
Mm.
that's a lie. I think that's a lie people tell themselves for their own psychological comfort. And and to avoid doing shadow work. So I mean, it's an inside job. It's always an inside job. You know, like attend to your own house, clean your own house. If you get started on that faster, it'll go faster, and the vibrations are getting so much lighter. You know, so especially now, you know, things like once I start teaching the ecstatic release technique, you know, this is how you actually use your physical body to clear karma and do it rapidly. You know, like as we're able to bring forth these tools to bear, go explore. You know, go collect your toolkit. You know, go collect whichever tools that you resonate toward, and have fun with your healing and have fun with your self love.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get people look at me like I'm the happiest person they know, and for most of them, they're right. You know, I mean, really, like I have my own trials like everybody else, and my own things that I go through and that I process. But I'm so buoyant. You know, so I'm so buoyant that I can go. If something tries to push me way down, it's not going to take long for me to get back up. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like it's not this is not your twin flame separation is not your curse. You know, it's not your punishment. You know, it's there for you to continue to grow, and so
True.
your quickest way out of it is to embrace it as such. You know.
True. There's two things. One is when you said the word roses, they ding. Day before yesterday, it was the day that we had our meeting. Remember I
Mm-hmm.
told you I did a channel message. Okay, well, roses and rose petals was coming up within it.
Nice.
Yesterday, when I was speaking with Sasha, another thing that was coming up in the channel message was the word or name Forrester. That came up with her. So I
Mm-hmm.
think what I was getting was, people who are going to be coming in, solely because to watch you.
Mm-hmm.
There's messages with the
Right.
second thing was I am so glad you brought up about, the catalyst twin and people not
Mm-hmm.
because it was brought up with Sasha yesterday. We touched on
Mm-hmm.
it too, and that needs to be said.
Yeah.
It's hurtful to sit there and think that, you've spent all this time, the thought process, and trying to get it under control about one, specific person, and then that's not your person. In a
Right.
way, it can
Sure.
be a catalyst within itself. Um,
Yeah.
so yes, we need to, you're not healing for this person, you're healing for yourself. Please always, always keep that in mind. But before you go diving deep down, even thinking that you're even in a twin flame dynamic, ask your guides, ask for signs. You can ask for specific signs to be given to you. Um, you know, from your guides, from source, so that you know exactly what path you're taking, who this person is to you, and then act accordingly. You
Mm-hmm.
know, dive because that's a deep dive within yourself, but you have to be willing to admit it to yourself first.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I'm so glad that that came up yesterday, and now it's also coming up again today. I think maybe with it coming up so much that it's something that's needing to be addressed with collective wise.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's part of the template, really. I mean, like not for everyone, but there are so many people who have that experience that you know, we do make these contracts with each other for a reason. You know, like you know, for me, I had that karmic balancing element, but it was also awakening for both of us, with me and the Catalyst twins. So wish that person well, and then
Hmm.
that person is free to go along their path, and then I know where
Yeah.
my home is now. You know, so
Yeah.
it's that kind of a dynamic, you know, and forgive yourself, you know, like you know, listen to yourself. My catalyst twin experience was the apotheosis of my own narcissism. So it was through that crucible of that experience that my own narcissism got to die and leave my own light body and return to source. You know, so listen to yourself sometimes. You know, I knew back then I didn't know how to recognize the real thing. If you know that that's true of you, then maybe consider that even if you've got this really powerful energetic connection with someone, that maybe that's part of it as well. Maybe your own human templates and your own abuse and your own trauma can be mapped to a transcendent experience, just like it can to a more grounded, more karmic experience, if that makes sense.
Okay. I think hot
Yeah.
because I mean we've got you, but for yep. But,
Okay. Yeah. I'm hearing every other word.
oh, there. Nope, it's still.
You're frozen too. See if we can fix it. No, I don't think so.
No, there we go. Okay. We don't want to miss that. I want you to have that opportunity. Take a few minutes to promote yourself. Put what you do, and anything you got going on for the month or whatever like that.
Yeah, well, I'm focusing. I'm building up more content on my YouTube page, and then I'll have splash alternative pages on BitChute and Rumble. I'm actually working on launching those today, and so Extropic Esoterica on YouTube is a great place to sort of see what I'm coming up with now. There's twin flame group therapy, so if you go to any video in the twinning series, you can link to the survey. Anyone who fills out the interest survey can get a free demo session there. There's also all my coaching services. So the one I'm most excited about right now is the body alchemy coaching, because I've got biofeedback with that. I've got Genius Insight biofeedback application to sort of take your vocal print, similar to iridology or anything like that, any type of biofeedback apparatus, and it can sort of show me what's going on inside of you and help you. And it also does aura spectrograph readings as well. So a lot of people like those aura spectrographs. So body alchemy coaching is a great thing. Extropicesoterica.com/services.
Let me tell you guys something. The other night when he did mine, he was literally telling me, listen, things that I have wrong in my spine. And I'm talking like the vertebrae all the way down to my broken tailbone that I've had for 17 years. Like he was literally able to do that over a phone call. No joke, y'all.
Yeah, we couldn't even get the video chat to work. We were doing it fully on the phone. So so yeah, that's it's an amazing system, and of course I bring in my own energy healing practice to the situation as well, and DNA repair, which is such a big deal right now, So yeah, but thanks, Benita. This has been fantastic, and I hope most of it came through. And it seemed like there was a technical issue toward the end there.
Yeah, it was getting I could hear your audio, but the video was so. Yeah, I just kind of wiggled around the mouse a little bit, checked the Wi-Fi. Everything was fine, but I think we were hitting on a hot topic. So you know how the energy does.
Yep, the energy flared up.
But it'll be all right because we just keep pushing back, and that's the whole purpose. But just it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, we're doing it. We already won, and we're just creating it. That's all there is to it at this point.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Anytime, Benita. Thank you so much.
Shortly, and we'll see you later. Bye.
All right, sounds good. Take care. Bye, everyone.